Hey everyone, I'm Casey Hollins and you're watching the Sportsnet Digital Dose. The new edition of Sportsnet magazine is on shelves today and we've got one of Sportsnet writers, Dan Robson, in studio. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And this is a special edition of Sportsnet magazine. It's the awards, the kind of year-end wrap edition. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff going on. You should definitely pick it up and take a look. And Dan actually wrote a little bit of a different story for this edition. It doesn't really have anything to do with the year-end wrap or the awards. It's definitely a more serious note, and I want to know, basically, give me, sum up the story that you wrote in this issue.
Yeah, so basically 5 years ago this January, 5 years ago there was a crash in Bathurst, New Brunswick. A basketball team, 7 players and a teacher were killed. So I went back to Bathurst and spent about 5 days there just talking to the people that were most affected by the tragedy, seeing where they are now, and trying to get a sense of the people that were lost. Trying to learn a little bit about their lives and to talk about the void that's sort of been left since they've been gone.
The article is called "The Boys in Red," and it's a great read, fantastic read. Not necessarily the easiest thing to read, but it's definitely worth the time and worthwhile. What was it like for you to have to go there and do the research and the footwork for this, or the legwork for this piece?
It was difficult. I mean, it's talking to parents and siblings and friends of people that are no longer there is a difficult thing, but at the same time there was a sense of joy in remembering and talking to several of the parents. We talked for hours at a time, just remembering who these kids were and their favorite memories, the things they dressed up for Halloween, and the gags they played. So there was a sense of getting to know people, and getting to remember and sort of honor them. So it was happy and sad, and it was a long time, but it was a really interesting experience.
How long were you there for?
5 days.
And in general, were the families pretty welcoming to you? Were they happy to talk to you?
Some of them don't talk. They don't really respond, which is fine. That everyone is able to deal with this in their own way. So a few of the families declined to speak with us, but a good majority did. And yeah, they were fun to talk. I mean, once you sit down and start remembering, one of the fathers said to me, he likes to talk about these things because it brings the memory back, and that's one of the happiest things he has. So they were pretty open to that.
And I mean, the article does the same thing, right? It's honoring their memory, sort of. It's things like this, they happen in the news, and everybody talks about them for a few days. The national media is talking about it for a few days, and then it kind of slips under the radar, and it stays within that small community. So it's things like this article, like you taking the time and doing this hard work that's not necessarily the most fun experience, but it's valuable, right? To bring this story is something that people shouldn't forget.
Right, and that's why we wanted to do the article. It's a difficult thing for people to talk about, and it's a difficult thing for a lot, especially in Bathurst, to look back on. But it's important. We wanted to sort of create a tribute, but also look at what happens when the people that we love are gone, and not just in the immediate aftermath, not just when the national media is pouring over it and there's letters coming from politicians, and the Pope was sending letters, and which was all valuable stuff that I know the people in Bathurst really did appreciate. The school still has a vault in the basement filled with letters that poured in over the years. So there's that, but then in the years that came, a lot of the story continued to go on, and we sort of backed away. The year after, the team went on and won the AA provincial championship, which was sort of the good news story coming out of the bat, and it was this triumphant moment. But beyond that, we sort of tail off and lose interest and don't really see where everything goes. The T school actually won the AAA championship 2 years after that, with one of the brothers of one of the boys from the Boys in Red was on that team. And so there's a lot of really nice moments that continue to happen, but at the same time, the void continues, and as much as you can move forward in that sense and celebrate, everything kind of goes back to one terrible moment in January 12th, 2008.
Yeah, it's like I said, I mean, we weren't necessarily all affected by this across the country, but this story will affect you when you read it, and I think that's a great thing. So thank you so much for coming in, Dan, and then chatting about it. And like I said, definitely pick up this edition of Sportsnet magazine and give his article a read. It's definitely worth it. That's all we've got for now, but check back soon for another Sportsnet Digital Dose.